What is up, everybody? And as I continue on my journey back to Iowa, I have been listening to all sorts of different news and talk radio, NPR in particular, and I gotta tell you, their hypocrisy, the ludicrous nature of what they report is over the top. It's over the top. So let me just take this Hunter Biden thing, number one. So now all of the press is having to report this, right? Because people like Mike Lee were on Fox this morning talking about it. Donald Trump tweeted about it. All that stuff. So what did I hear? Well, on NPR, I heard that the emails themselves, right, were not legitimized, right? They said, well, you know, we don't know if they're even real. Bullshit. They know they're real. They absolutely 100% know they are real emails. Now, there have been big forgeries in the past in mainstream media that have been used to take out what I would call living room icons before. And one of those icons was Dan Rather. Now, if you go all the way back to 2004, post-war on terror, I'm not here to promote Dan Rather. And I know that Dan Rather now, I believe he's involved with the Young Turks. I think they just hired him, right? But in the days when Dan Rather was with CBS, he started to speak out against the war on terror. And that's why in Loose Change Final Cut, the opening sequence actually has Dan Rather talking about journalists who were speaking out too loudly, getting basically these tires thrown around their neck and lit on fire. You know, that's what they used to do to people. Kind of a lynching type thing. Now, if you guys all forgot, Dan Rather ran with a story on documents on George W. Bush's military career, right, that were not real. And immediately after that, the media pounced on him. He had to apologize. And what happened? Dan Rather kind of went away. I think that HDNet, Mark Cuban's network, they're the ones that actually ended up hiring him after that, okay? You haven't heard much from Dan Rather. Now, on the flip side to that, if you're still a mainstream media minion, right, and you say things like, I was shot at in a helicopter while I was in the Middle East, and it's all proven to be nonsense, they'll give you a pass. You just apologize, you're still on TV, you're still making millions of dollars, you're still promoting propaganda. Now, I kept hearing that, again, these documents, number one, were not yet legitimate, and then secondly, okay, it mattered whether or not they were obtained legally. Bullshit. Bullshit. And this is an extension of what they tried to pull with the DNC emails from 2016. You remember that? Remember Chris Cuomo, right? Andrew Capo Cuomo's brother going, you're not allowed to look at the WikiLeaks documents. That's illegal. That's our job. Bullshit. We all know it was bullshit then. And they keep running with it. And I'm sick of it. And I'm sick of it. We're done with this idea that somehow it is illegal for citizen journalists or even mainstream journalists to obtain legitimate documentation by any means necessary and then expose it. That's how we do it. And they want that gone so bad. And all you puppets on the radio and television and on the internet with your podcasts that are saying anything different, there will be a digital reckoning for you as well. Remember that. There will be a digital reckoning for you as well, because the minute you step out of line, you're with them. You're the enemy. It wasn't just Alex Jones. It wasn't just InfoWars. It wasn't just Gavin McInnes. It isn't just Cernovich, right? And by the way, I know I just named a bunch of quote-unquote right-wing characters. Don't worry. They're going to come for the left that doesn't go along with the Kamala Harris, Biden, Cuomo agenda. I promise you. That's how they screwed Bernie twice. But Bernie's so goddamn spineless, he never stepped up to the plate. Not once. Now, here's what else is really disturbing to me. It's now starting to come to light how apparently an associate of Rudolph Giuliani, who I don't like Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani is part of the 9/11 cover-up crew, 100%. Knows way more than he said, okay? But somehow Giuliani got these emails. They named the guy that gave the emails out, okay? And then they said, and this is what was reported by NPR, okay? They basically said this guy was running a computer shop. And then they threw in that he's legally blind, all right? And Hunter Biden's laptop got dropped off for some kind of recovery. So I don't know if his hard drive went bad. There wasn't really a lot of specifics there. I wish there were, as I'm an IT guy and I could get into it. Now, apparently, again, the guy is so legally blind, he couldn't say whether Hunter Biden himself actually dropped off the laptop or it was some kind of a third party. And then they threw in the idea that he has to use a monocle to see and do his work. So what? Well, that makes no difference. See, they throw that detail in there to confuse you, and then they give you his name so you'll look up his business and you'll start to dox the guy, right? They're going to call this type of thing election interference. Not the truth, okay? Not an expose, not showing, how DC corruption and nepotism works. No. All that gets flipped on its head. Very upsetting. Okay, now let's take it a step further, and I don't know, again, this is just what's being reported by NPR. Dare I say something different? YouTube says they're the authoritative source, right? They'll promote NPR over Jason Burmis any day of the week. So apparently the story goes like this, that the gentleman who was recovering things found porn. Okay, that's fine. I'm not here, to be the morality police. I'm not, this isn't Puritanism. If Hunter Biden has porn on his computer, I could care less. There was nothing said about CP or anything illegal or anything unswarthy, nothing like that. But then, apparently, the gentleman who was doing the recovery decided that he was going to start searching the emails for key terms like Burisma. And that is when he found some of these emails that are showing, yes, Hunter Biden did give introductions to his father to people within the company that he got this crazy sweetheart deal with. No kidding. Really? You couldn't tell? You didn't know that Joe Biden is an establishment politician? You didn't know that Joe Biden is an establishment liar? You didn't know that Joe Biden is an establishment globalist? You didn't know that Joe Biden is part of the 9/11 cover-up crew? You didn't know that Joe Biden is a guy that backed what happened in Syria via Operation Timber Sycamore? You didn't know that? Oh, that's fact. That's fact, baby. Joe Biden writes a piece back in late 80s, early 90s called How I Learned to Love the New World Order. You gonna fact check that too, Google? Go ahead. Do it. Tell me I'm a liar. Gaslight me. Tell me the article doesn't exist. Bury it in your algorithm. You're good at that. You're good at trying to bury real evidence or trying to bury this story. And they were talking about the varying degrees of censorship as if that matters. Okay, number one, they said that Facebook wasn't quite sure yet if there was any validity to the emails, as they haven't been verified whether they're real or not. So they're going to let you share it, but then it's just not going to show up in a lot of feeds, right? Well, that doesn't sound good at all. That sounds ridiculous. So in other words, you're going to censor the extent of information reaching others. I mean, you've done that in the past with many outlets that I've worked for, whether it was, InfoWars, which you completely devastated, but you did that while I was working with We Are Change. You couldn't even buy ads, right? You didn't get the same play as all these other people, okay? So Facebook does that. Twitter actually blocked accounts. They locked down political accounts within the Trump administration. Now, apparently, again, NPR is reporting this, Jack Dorsey is furious. No, he's not. That's part of the Dorsey program. If you think for 1 second that Jack Dorsey didn't pull the trigger on Alex Jones and InfoWars after Alex went to D.C. and got within a couple arms lengths of him as he exited the Capitol building, right? That was it. Dorsey saw right there, wait a minute, oh, I could get touched. Oh no. And did I say Darcy? I meant Dorsey, because he also saw how Oliver Darcy, the slightly weasel-faced individual from CNN, got owned by Jones. And of course, it was against their harassment policy or whatever they want to say. It's all selective enforcement. And then they took that and they banned Alex. And again, I don't agree with everything Alex Jones has to say. I don't agree with everything Infowars.com puts out there. But you challenge information with better evidence and better information. You do not censor it. And every time I turn on this radio and I go through the news and I hear about this stuff and the way they're putting it into context, and then, them going all the way back to the impeachment of Trump and whether you agree with it or not, he was trying to influence an investigation into his political rival. Joe Biden wasn't even the nominee when that happened. They hadn't even rigged it for him yet. Okay? We still had the Democratic debates going on. And everything Trump said on that phone call was fine. There was nothing criminal about it. It was a circus show. And it's a talking point for these mental fucking midgets that never want to bring up the fact that Joe Biden sat up there and bragged in front of the Council on Foreign Relations with his buddy Richard Haass, who's on record in Invisible Empire talking about how they manipulate the way the world works, okay, and the pieces on the chessboard that are bigger than just nation states. He did it on Colbert, right? He's like, you guys are like, you're the Illuminati. You're the ones that, control the board. He's like, well, what's so interesting? I mean, all those things. He's sitting there cackling up there with Richard Haass about going to the Ukraine, having a deal already set up with Poroshenko and others to have the prosecutor who was investigating his son fired. And when he gets there and he's not fired, he says, you know what? We don't have to give you that $1 billion. And he's like, wait a minute, you're not the president. He's like, what do you call him? I'm Joey motherfucking B. Call him up. Let him know. What? This is insane. This is insanity. Well, it looks like I'm about to hit the old toll, so I better get over here right now. It is nuts to me. It is absolutely 100% bonkers. And, this is what they want. They don't want you to have the ability to think for yourself. They don't want you to have the ability to ever get a leaked or hacked document. We have to stop asking ourselves where these things came from as if that makes any kind of difference. If it came from Russia, who cares? If it came from the guy's wife, who cares? If it came from a leak or a hack, who cares? It is the substance of the actual information that should make all the difference. And for some reason, it just doesn't anymore. It just doesn't. It drives me maddening. I mean, we need, again, I'm going to say it again because I said it in my last video. These people need to be criminally prosecuted for their lies and their agendas. Forget about the lawsuits. Forget about public shaming. Any of that. That's nothing. All right? Forget about, we're just going to, not use that social media platform anymore. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You had, I can't stand Sebastian Gorka. Can't stand him. I think he's a pompous jackass. He's a neocon at heart. He puts out a ton of disinformation. He was one of the people over there talking about this today. And hold on, guys, I gotta do this right now. How you doing?
How are you?
Good.
1175.
Thank you very much. So, guys, Gorka is sitting there, and he's talking, and then he's talking about basically how there are already alternative platforms, right? You have Gab. He talked about Gab. You have Parler. But the fact of the matter is that you already have big tech collusion with Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, the three biggest platforms, and Google as well. Google, an extension of YouTube and an extension of Alphabet, all that stuff. And he's like, look, I'm a conservative. I don't think he's really, a conservative in the sense, he's a neocon, okay? He says he wants them broken up like, Standard Oil, Ma Bell, they need to be. They need to be more than broken up. I'm going to say it again. These are beyond monopolies. They are beyond monopolies because they are in bed with the government. All right? Whether you realize it or not, they are in bed with the government. Someone like Jeff Bezos is in bed with the intelligence communities. So what we need to do is expose their corruption on a criminal level. And yes, they need to be broken up, but we need to put people in fucking prison. That's what has to happen. Prison for the guilty billionaires, not some country club where you send Claire fucking Bronfman and slap her on the wrist after she's literally involved in a weird ass sex cult that is trafficking in teenage girls across the globe and has a rainbow cultural garden nursery school set up in this country and beyond. Not a country club, the real deal. And, again, it gets to me because this is all unraveling right in front of our face. I have to listen to this mainstream media madness. If you remember now, after Trump came up positive on the coronavirus, I was like, are we going to have another debate? I don't know that we are. And we were supposed to have that second debate tonight. Not happening. Apparently there's like dueling town halls or something. That's not going to do it. I don't think we're going to see another debate now. And remember, they're still trying to frame this as if Joe Biden has support. Guys, let me explain something to you. Another thing I heard today while I'm listening to the radio are the Joe Biden radio ads. Why do you listen to those? Anybody can pull one up. You know what he's talking about? National guidelines and mandatory masks nationwide, okay? And then he says this, and it's key when he says this, because he means it. He says, if and when the American people are ready to go back, can go back to work. What do you mean if? What do you mean fucking if they're ready to go back to work? If that right there says you're not going back to fucking work if I tell you you ain't. It should never, the if wouldn't be a part of it. If there was any validity to this at all, it would be when, but there isn't any validity to COVID-1984 and the lockdowns and suppressing the fact that dextromethasone works, that remdesivir works, that people are taking vitamin C, vitamin D, some are recommending HCQ, budesonide, and others. They have never focused on solutions. They have never focused on therapeutics. They have never focused on treatments. Instead, they focus on your dark billionaire fucking overlord, Bill Gates, and his 20-to-1 return on vaccinations. That's who they focus on. It's garbage. It's trash. It needs to be exposed. So guys, thumbs the video up on the way out. I'm still on the road for another 5-6 hours, trying to get back to Iowa. If you can support me, please do. The GoFundMe down below. It's pretty low right now. We're past the halfway point of the month. I didn't get started, until much later on it, but $5, $10, $15, big donors. You mean the world to me. It's how I'm able to do this. Obviously, we do a lot more than just walk and talks and car videos and all that stuff. But I've got some big interviews coming up, even this weekend. including the Google whistleblower that published the documentation showing, their illegal algorithms and their shadow banning and their obstruction of the truth, really. And we're going to talk to him about so much. I'm really looking forward to that one. One of the biggest ones I'm really looking forward to. So again, thumbs it up on the way out. Subscribe, share. I love you guys, and I will see you on the flip side.